Welcome to First Responder Friday. My name is Conrad Weaver. I'm your host for the program. I'm coming to you from my studio here in Maryland. And today we have a very special guest. I'm not going to waste a lot of time because I want to get into her story, but I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of our community here at PTSD 911. As you know, if you're watching on Facebook, you're watching from our PTSD 911 movie page. Thank you for following us. Thank you for liking us. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you as well for joining us, and Twitter as well. So today we have a very special guest. It's a very special episode of First Responder Friday, and I want to bring on our guest. Schelly Olson is from Granby, Colorado. Am I right? Is that right?
That's where I work, but Grand Lake was where my home was.
Yeah. So Schelly, tell me a little bit about what you do. You're in the fire service, and what's your history there?
Back in, I think it was 2008, maybe, I had a friend and a neighbor, Donnie, and he kept bugging me about joining the volunteer fire department in Grand Lake, and I finally did. And they sent me to EMT school, which was amazing, and I got a job on the ambulance, worked for Grand County EMS for a few years, and then I worked in the medical center. And then when the medical center closed, I got a job at Grand Fire Protection District in Granby. I started in administration, but right away I started on the Ready, Set, Go program from the International Association of Fire Chiefs. That was my thing, telling people how to prepare for wildfire. So I became a public information officer. I was pretty lucky. I got promoted very quickly when the fire chief was not there any longer. So I became the assistant chief. Community risk reduction is my thing. Wildfire preparation. I have a nonprofit now called the Grand County Wildfire Council, and we do free chipping days so people can get rid of slash. And so I've been doing wildfire preparedness for as long as I've been in this business. So this really hits home.
So I used to live in Colorado. I kind of know where you're at, but for the audience, kind of tell us where Grand Lake is at and kind of where it's situated in the state.
Okay. So, again, my fire district is in Granby, and we have 152 square miles around the town of Granby that we protect and serve. There are 5 different fire districts in Grand County. We are about 90 minutes northwest of Denver, up and over Berthoud Pass. Now, my home in Grand Lake would be at the very west entrance to Rocky Mountain National Park. So if you go up and over on the other side, that's Estes Park, and that's kind of, people can visualize where it is. So Grand Lake is an amazing place, the largest natural lake in Colorado. Obviously, at my place, we looked at Rocky Mountain National Park and the forest. And behind us was the Metropolitan Rec District. So that was the golf course. A beautiful, beautiful place.
So I know that over the last number of years, there's been a big infestation of beetles or something that killed a lot of the trees.
So the beetle epidemic really started in Grand County. We call that ground zero. The Williams Fork fire that started in August, that was right there at the epicenter of the beetle devastation. And so we've known for a long time that, we're going to have an issue with this. And there's just so much work that the forest was doing work. We were doing work. But yes, the beetle kill was a huge problem. And to fight fire in that is so dangerous. It's very, very difficult to put firefighters in there. So I worked on that Williams Fork fire for like 50 days. And
what was that?
The Williams Fork fire just happened in August. Okay. Yeah. Again, my friends and I, public information officers, working on fires all summer, just nonstop. I started in Tucson on the Bighorn and just kept working all summer. I worked on the Williams Fork, and then come October, we thought, well, we really need to get away and just relax for a few days. So my friend and I got on a plane and went to Florida to her condo, and that was when the East Troublesome started.
And so what happened with that? Do we know what started that fire? Or
it's human caused. That's all we know.
Mm-hmm. And that fire was really explosive. It really just blew up.
Yeah, talking to different people about it, one of my neighbors sent me this message. He said, it took days for the East Troublesome to grow to 19,000 acres. And then boom, in a short amount of time, it went to 170,000 acres. And that simply doesn't happen. I mean, it's just so disturbing to say that we've never seen this before. Just again, the word I hate the most in 2020 is unprecedented, but that's kind of what it is. It's just never happened before. But I mean, it was likened to 70 football fields in a minute.
Wow.
So yes, it moved so fast. My husband was at home by himself with our dog, and he got again, I had to call him and tell him, and my daughter had to call him and tell him that he was under pre-evacuation. And he started getting things ready. I said to him, if you could just please, this is what I tell people, the weakest link in your house is how it's going to burn to the ground. So go outside and take all the cushions off of the deck chairs. So he spent all this time untying cushions and getting them inside so that they wouldn't be the thing that started the house on fire. So he didn't, then 5 minutes later, go now. So he didn't have anything. He had his bag, the dog, and a dog bed, and just left. And he left.
You were in Florida.
And I was in Florida with Tracy. And I was, obviously, my captain on my fire department texted me and said, tell Jeff to go now. So there was this, kind of communication going on back and forth. He got in the car and he started driving out of the neighborhood. He said it was like a freight train. The sound, somebody else likened it to a fleet of helicopters over your head. I can't even imagine what that sounds like. So, yeah.
And then, I mean, obviously, your house was right in the middle of that, and you pretty much lost everything.
Yeah, it's, so I wanted to know if my house was gone or not. And of course, everybody wants to know, and I felt very selfish calling my firefighters and asking them, because I know that they were a bit busy. But one of my wildland captain, Joe, called me and said, what was your address again? And I told him. And this is at probably 2 a.m. Eastern time, so maybe midnight in Colorado. And they are in the middle of the biggest firefight that they've ever been in. And he pulled up to my driveway and said he didn't think anything was left. So, and he just said, I have to go, because they were still working. So he let me know that it was gone. And I just couldn't even imagine what everything looked like. And then my other friend, Tony, she said, would you like to see a picture? And I really did want to see a picture. So she texted me the pictures, and I could not even believe that it was just a pile of ashes. I mean, we built this house, for our kids to go to school in Grand Lake and to live there, and to have that log house that had such giant logs to be reduced to such a tiny pile of ash is just horrifying.
Wow. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm very
Thank
sorry
you.
I can't imagine what that's like. And so, yeah, I don't know what to say.
I've always been on the other side, working on fires and helping evacuees, having them, just please be patient. And when they want to go back in and see their house, and how it's very dangerous and trees can fall and there's no power and things like that. And now to be on the other side of it, I'm just numb, I guess. And I'm normally working in an emergency operations center or an incident management team, and I just feel helpless. I try to insert myself when I can, because I want to keep busy, because that's what helps, I think, me keep my mind, from going to dark places. And so it's just really hard, Conrad, I want to help, but I also know that I probably need to take care of myself as well, because this is, it's not a death of a person, but it's kind of a death of a lifetime that we had.
Sure.
And I think that first responders, we are the worst patients ever. You get an EMT, putting them on a gurney. I mean, they are horrible patients. So we really need to accept help, and we need to, we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves, because we don't want to go to those dark places, because it's very easy to do that. I mean, you've been doing this, and you've met some people who've gone through some really horrible stuff.
Right. So what do you do? Well, I mean, how do you take care of yourself? Or is that something you're still figuring out?
Yeah, I guess. It's been a week. Is it Friday today? So a week and 2 days. So 9 days. It's hard to sleep. It's hard to eat. You just want to I like Chardonnay, so I drink, and I need to, need to not do that. But talking to people, I just called my friend last night who's in California, and he lost his house in a wildfire as well. So that really helped. When I see the firefighters that are still here in our county, I'm over on the east side now in Winter Park. When I see them eating out in a restaurant, I will make sure I say hi to them and tell them thank you for being here and saving all the homes that they saved, because it's not about losing 300 structures. It's about saving thousands. So that helps me a lot when I see them and I can say hi to them. And it just, we have this, the connection, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, we all, we just know, we have to rely on each other. So that I think that helps me a lot. I go to my fire station when I can and try to do something. I don't know what, but my fire chief just texted today and said, we need some help getting some FaceTime with some of our residents who are trying to get back in. I don't, whether they have a home or not, but I told him I wanted to be there and I wanted to help. So I hope that I can do that and just, keep busy and stay connected. I haven't been able to look at Facebook or really watch any of the news. I know I've been on the news, but I haven't seen any of it. I think it would be traumatic again. But yeah, Facebook is hard. There's so much out there. And when I do look at it, I'll see, somebody else that has lost their house, and I just comment and say, I feel your pain, because I really do. But there's 9 of us. There's 9 first responders who lost everything. Myself, I lived in Winding River Villas, and Kevin Piercy lived in Winding River as well, at the Baptist camp, and he lost everything and his 2 dogs. So pray for him. He's very, very heartbroken. He worked for Grand Lake Fire as a volunteer. Blake Shannon, Grand Lake volunteer. Rachel Bourne and Jody Kern are the 2 longest dispatchers in Grand County's dispatch center. I mean, when they're not on duty, you're like, whoa. They have been there the longest, and they know everything. And the 2 of them both lost their homes, and they were just down, in the neighborhood next to me. And then you go down the road, excuse me. And, this fire went from Highway 125 in Granby, which is my fire district, Grand Fire, and just swept all the way through, on the west side of Highway 34, all the way to the Rocky Mountain National Park. So when people say, Grand Lake, this is a Grand Lake thing, it is not Grand Lake. It is Grand County. It is Granby. My fire district's going to suffer so many losses. I mean, an entire neighborhood that just went through the inclusion process to join our fire district is gone.
Wow.
I don't know how many houses are there, but anyway, so I was talking, then going up to these roads. So then you have Michael McShane, who is a Westminster Fire Department. He lost his house. And then his neighbor was Dan Shannon, and he lost his house. He's a West Metro firefighter. I don't know if I lost count, but I think that might be all of us first responders. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see them and talk to them. And, I've been on the phone with all of them, and we just have to be there for each other. And
what's been the response in the community? I know I saw a news story where somebody brought some things for you. What's been the response for people around?
Gosh, the response has been incredible. I get, a text or a phone call almost every day, asking if I need a place to live. And you can see behind me that Jim and Lindy Kennedy, he's a retired doc here in Winter Park. He opened up his home and letting us stay here. So that's been amazing to have a place to be. And then my friends, Shannon, who you might have seen me with on a news program, and Elise and Pickles and, everybody who's just been, gathering things. We had a house over here in Winter Park that was the garage and the entire living room were full of donated things, clothes and toothpaste and diapers and everything. And we just yesterday cleaned out the house and got all the things delivered to different places. The Grand Lake Center took some of the clothing, and the Pregnancy Resource Center took the diapers and things for moms that need it. So the outpouring has just been incredible. And then my friend Megan is the executive director of the Grand Foundation. And the Grand Foundation is, it supports all of the nonprofits in Grand County. So my, little wildfire council, we would apply for a grant to do, maybe a chipping day, and Megan's Grand Foundation would help us. And now they have started the Emergency Wildfire Fund. So when the Williams Fork started, they were like, let's put together an emergency fund for people who need help for wildfire, impact. And that fund, I want to say, was $25,000 before I went to Florida. And it's over $1 million right now.
Wow.
And so, wow. I mean, people have just donated their money, their clothes. I mean, Natasha said to her friends, take your favorite thing out of your closet, and we're going to give it to Schelly and the people who need it. So it's just been amazing. I can't even tell you.
So if other people want to make a contribution, maybe they're around the country, where can they go to make a financial contribution?
Yeah. So the Grand Foundation, the Wildfire Emergency Fund.
I'm going to go to your website here. And,
oh my gosh, that's my website.
Yeah. Is there a link on here?
Do you see a little, let me see. Is there something that says donate on there?
Let's see here.
Support right there, I think. Donate? No.
I don't see it offhand. Maybe it's down here. Oh, here's a link to the Grand Foundation.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, go to bewildfireready.org.
So here's the Grand Foundation.
There it is.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Conrad, we could tell people, hey, go visit bewildfireready.org, and they can find out what, our little nonprofit has been doing, but you can go to the bottom and click on Grand Foundation.
Yeah. I'll put this in a little banner here. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Sorry, folks. We're just kind of doing this on the fly here.
So, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yep. So you can put that right there.
Oh.
So if you go to that website, bewildfireready.org, and scroll to the bottom, click on the Grand Foundation button down here, and you can go there and make a donation to help the fire victims there in Grand County, Colorado.
Yep,
and,
absolutely.
So speaking as a firefighter and as someone who, works these fires, you've had you had the biggest fires ever in Colorado this year.
Yeah.
Two of them back to back, almost. They were close to coming together.
Correct.
And why is that happening? It's October. Tomorrow's November. Why is that happening?
Yeah, Conrad, that's a really good question, and I don't even think I want to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a whole nother podcast, right?
It really is. Like, why is
Yeah.
this happening? I mean, again, we're seeing fire behavior that we've never seen. You know, it's hot, it's dry. You know, we're in a drought. We have the beetle kill. You know, it's just, it was just a matter of time, you know.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was working on another documentary about the drought in the West, and it's called Thirsty Land. And we were in California, in Central Valley, California, and we were sitting at this restaurant one night. There's these two guys sitting at the bar, and we started talking to them, and they ended up being pilots for one of the fire bombers, or the big
The
jets.
retardants, the air tankers, we call them.
The air tankers, and they were like, "Hey, why don't you come out to the airport and we'll show you the plane?" So we got to go out there, and we obviously didn't get to ride along, but we got to go into the plane and saw all the stuff. And they were telling us that they had fought the fire this was back in 2015. They were on the big fire just north of San Francisco. That was just, I think maybe it was the Paradise Fire. No,
the campfire, maybe.
The campfire. It was the campfire. They said, we have never ever seen fire act that way.
Right.
And I'm hearing that again this year.
Right. Well, I you know, and maybe have a podcast with you know, one of our fire behavior analysts, you know, an expert meteorologist. So, I mean, they talk climate change a lot, and I'm not even going to go there, but you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's really complicated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but you talked about aircraft. When the Williams Fork fire was here, we got to go to the Hella base, and I walked through the Chinooks and the Black Hawks, and oh my gosh, it's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in this sense, people always ask, you know, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? You know, 60 mile an hour to 100 mile an hour winds, you cannot fly.
No.
And you can't drop retardant unless there are firefighters on the ground to make it effective. You can't fly them at night. So, you know, a lot of factors there tons of factors, you know what I mean? And people, and that's the one thing too, that I've, you know, in my job, trying to educate people on, you know, why, like I'm getting messages from my HOA, you know, they're in a thread talking to each other, and we're going to put pressure on the sheriff to do this. And I just want to say, and actually it's not my neighborhood, it's another neighborhood, but please, people, be patient. This is a huge process. It has been 9 days. I worked on fires where people were out for way longer than this. And it is dangerous. It is, you know, putting people back in there and then the snow melts and then there's smoke everywhere. It's like, please be patient. You know, our sheriff is doing a damn good job, and he's doing the best he can and making the best decisions he can with the information he has at the time. And we have to be understanding and work together. And, you know, this isn't just like I said before, not a Grand Lake problem. This is a Grand County thing. This is all of us, you know, affected from, like I said, from 125 all the way to the park, and everybody in between. So
what's the, and if you don't know this answer, what's the ratio of like full-time to volunteer in your area?
I'm sorry, firefighters? Right. I want to say we have about 140 or so volunteer firefighters. 5 fire districts. And Grand Lake is the only one that had shifting firefighters. So they were working, you know, they work whether 48 hours on or 96 hours off. I don't know what their schedule was, but they are the only ones that had shifting firefighters. And then the rest of us in the county, like my fire department there's 5 of us that work, that are, you know, paid, I guess you call us, career. And then same thing over at East Grand Fire, there's about 6 paid. And then Hot Sulphur Springs and Kremling, the only paid positions they have are a chief. And then they have, I think one has an assistant chief. So very few paid firefighters in Grand County. We rely on the volunteers. And here's one of my missions, Conrad. People talk about, you know, giving money to us and the first responders, people who've lost their homes. But think about the firefighters who responded to a pager, and didn't go home for 2 days and did not get paid and could not go to their real job. Those are the folks that I am going to look out for and make sure that they do not get overlooked. Because, you talk about, you have an incident management team who manages a fire, and all those people have resource orders and they get paid by the federal government, but none of these people have a resource order.
Yeah.
So
and the volunteers don't have to show up.
No, but they did, and they do.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
They hear the pager and they run to help anybody and everybody. And some of those folks, we call it the after action review, to talk about what went well and what we could do differently. And we did that on Tuesday, and it was very, very difficult. I had firefighters one of them said, I give myself an F. I kept you in an area that I shouldn't have kept you in, we shouldn't have been there. And a lot of them were afraid for their lives. It was dangerous. Some of them are new to firefighting, wildland firefighting. It's a whole nother ballgame. So, just hearing their stories and hearing how, they were afraid. But also hearing, just stories of, we saved this house and we saved this house. And, they just sat there and they were met by so much flame and so much heat, and they had to back out, but then they go back in right after the flame goes through and try to see what they can save and put out little fires that are around the houses and things. And so they were doing that. I know that we went from fighting fire along, that corridor to, holy crap, we got to get everybody out. And it happened so quickly. So the sheriff's deputies, all of them in there, I hear of their cars have been burned. They have been burned. They went into door to door to try to rescue everyone and tell everyone. My neighbor who texted me, we live by the golf course, and he had this wonderful, beautiful lodge. And he said that the deputies knocked on his door and said, you have about an hour to go. So get your stuff together and go. And he had a sprinkler, and he was putting the sprinkler on his house. And then 5 minutes later, his wife comes screaming in and says, we have to go now. And that's when he said the helicopter sound was over his head. And they had no time, nobody had any time. And those deputies went in there and they risked their lives. And, we did have 2 fatalities. They were an elderly couple, Lyle and Marilyn, and they lived down one neighborhood over from me, but they decided to stay. I hear that he is a 30-year veteran of the Denver Fire Department. So
I think they were neighbors to my friends Tim and Cammie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the Gilmores lived up there.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to introduce me to them.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Yeah. So just wow.
Yeah, it's crazy stories. So the other night I was watching one of the Channel 7 stories that they had, and there was a firefighter, a young woman who said she was on the fire truck going back to the fire and came past all these houses that were burning, and one of them was hers. And she said, I just looked out the window and just said, bye, house, as she went back to whatever they were doing, It's like, how do you do that? How do you put your own stuff aside to go deal with the broader picture?
Yeah, that's wow. The first responders and firefighters are a special breed. We have to be some sort of crazy, to do what we do. But also we obviously care about others, right? We, I don't know. Like I said before, like keeping yourself busy and occupied and helping others and, helping with donations and helping fight fire and, keeping your mind off of your loss. But at some point, she's going to have to address that and stop and think and actually grieve the
Mm-hmm.
loss,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you can't just say buy house and move on. So
Mm-hmm.
my message to her would be, thank you so much for what you do and what you did. And there's nobody like you, but stop and take care of yourself and make sure that you grieve your loss, because, it's I didn't lose a family member, thank God. I could have, but I'm mourning the loss of a house and a life that we had there. And so it feels like a death. And I think you go through those stages of grief. I mean, I definitely went through, the denial was pure from, I could not accept it. I said over and over again, no, this cannot be. And I flew home the next morning. I didn't obviously sleep. I just laid, crying all night. Got on a flight first thing on Thursday morning, and I went straight to a hotel in Denver and met my family. And we went to a restaurant and we ordered an appetizer, and it just sat in the middle of the table, and we just cried the whole time. And we see up on the TV, the Troublesome Fire and different news clips, and we're bawling our eyes out, and the waitresses, and they don't even know what to do. And they would come over and bring us a dessert, and they didn't know what to do. And then it was so crazy, the stories. So we did that, and they packed us this whole bag of food to take back to the hotel with us. And we were so thankful. And then 2 days later, I get a Facebook message, and she said, "I'm sorry, this is so weird, but were you at BJ's brewery the other night? I think I saw you on the news, and I just wanted to reach out to you and see how you're doing." And oh my gosh, things like that just fill your heart. You know what I mean? It's just, people have been so amazing. We went into Murdoch's to buy some dog toys because our dog had no toys, and he was just driving us nuts. And the manager just bought it all for us. And we went to Sharky's and had breakfast, and they bought it all for us. It's just been, the outpouring has been amazing. But yeah.
I think those are the kind of stories that, we see the news these days, and all the craziness going on, and
Yeah.
and the people around the world can get this really negative picture of Americans.
Yeah.
But there's some really good people.
Yes. Yes, there are some really good people out there, absolutely. And I think Grand County has most of them there. I'm from Minnesota originally, so yeah, we have Minnesota. We're Minnesota nice, right? Love my people there. But yeah, Grand County, they've just been wonderful. And again, everywhere. Anybody that's reached out has just been amazing. So I like to take that opportunity to say thank you to everybody who has supported all of, us, the first responders, and, all the victims of wildfire, from not just our fire. My God, Cameron Peak and Mullen and, Williams Fork, and then all the ones in California and Arizona. And we're not unique, right? Everybody in the West has been going through this, and I was always on the other side of it. And now I'm let's call it a victim, right, of the fire. And I will never do my job the same again. It's traumatic. But it's an opportunity. Tomorrow I'm going to go help people get back into their houses. So.
Well, Schelly, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today here on this podcast.
I really, really appreciate it, Conrad. It was very apprehensive. I didn't know, but this really feels good to talk about it. And thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, it's people that do what you guys do are, I'm just amazed, always amazed at your resilience and your, commitedness to the job and to the work. So I get the texts from my local fire station here because they approved me to ride along with them. So I get messages, all hours of the night. It's like, here these guys are jumping up. Last night it was 2:30 in the morning. Their pager goes off and they're off doing whatever they do. It's like, I'm sleeping in my bed, and you guys are just out there doing the work. And then to have, a tragedy that hits home like this is just, kind of a really, stab in the heart. And I can't imagine what that feels like. So I'm sorry for your loss, but
Thank you
thank you
so
for
much.
what you do and for what you do for your community. I know with leaders like you, your community is going to rebound and going to become really an amazing place, more
Thank you
amazing
so
than what it was.
much.
It'll
It
take a
will be.
while for those green trees to come back, but
It will be. Well, I hope that we can have a beverage at the Ott House.
we will do that. So you come here,
Okay.
and you know what? If you need a place to stay, my wife and I have an Airbnb. You have a free
Yay.
place to stay, no
Okay.
charge,
Okay.
and
I will come.
we'll make that happen for sure. And so
Awesome.
so tell us once more where people can go to make a donation to help support the fire victims there.
Sure. So the Grand County Wildfire Council has a website called bewildfireready.org, and you can donate to the Wildfire Council, and we'll help people clean up their homes and get rid of their slash and cut down those trees and things like that. But at the bottom of the page, you can donate monetarily to the Grand Foundation, and it's an emergency wildfire fund for everyone who's been affected, and they will pay your mortgage. They will buy you whatever you need if you don't have it anymore. So Grand Foundation is really our our go-to place for helping our community members. So thank you so much for letting me communicate that to everyone.
Awesome, absolutely, and we'll make sure that we put those links in the comments or in the show notes on the podcast. Again, Schelly, thank you for being a part of kind of a last minute thing, jumping on the program today. I really appreciate it, and stick around after we end the podcast, and we'll wrap up offline.
Okay.
So you have been watching the First Responder Friday podcast. My name's Conrad Weaver. I want to share with you who's coming up next week on the podcast, and we're going to have a great conversation if I can find the right button here. Patrick Welsh is going to be with us. He is an amazing human being. He's worked in law enforcement in many different aspects. I believe, Schelly, I believe he's from Colorado as well.
Is he really?
So he's going to be on the show next Friday,
Awesome.
live right here. So join us for the First Responder Friday podcast. Again, my name is Conrad Weaver, and you're watching the First Responder Friday podcast. And be sure to like our page and to share it widely with everyone you know. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next week.